Jane Austen gave us some of literature's most unforgettable women. From sharp-tongued Elizabeth Bennet to scheming Emma Woodhouse, these heroines have been capturing hearts for over 200 years. But let's be honest, some of them just hit differently than others. Today, we're redoing the impossible, ranking Jane Austen's heroines from worst to best. Before you grab your pitchforks, remember, there's no such thing as a truly bad Austen heroine. These women are complex, flawed, and brilliant in their own ways, but some are just more compelling than others, and we're about to find out why. Number 10. Lady Susan Vernon. Starting at number 10, we have Lady Susan Vernon, and she's here because she's technically an anti-heroine rather than a traditional protagonist. Lady Susan is manipulative, selfish, and absolutely ruthless in pursuing her own interests. She schemes to find wealthy husbands for both herself and her daughter, often through deception and emotional manipulation. While she's undeniably clever and charismatic, her complete lack of moral compass makes her hard to root for. She uses her beauty and wit as weapons, destroying lives without a second thought. Yes, she's entertaining in a deliciously wicked way, but as a heroine worthy of admiration, she falls short. Lady Susan represents what happens when intelligence is divorced from integrity, fascinating to watch, but ultimately hollow. Her charm masks a calculating nature that puts her own desires above everyone else's well-being, making her compelling but ultimately unsympathetic as our lowest-ranked heroine. Number 9. Catherine Morland. Catherine Morland lands at number 9, and she's actually pretty lovable in her own way. She's young, naive, and has an overactive imagination fueled by too many Gothic novels. The problem is she's almost too innocent for her own good. Catherine's charm lies in her honesty and her genuine nature, but she's also incredibly gullible. She believes everything anyone tells her, gets swept up in ridiculous fantasies about secret passages and murdered wives, and needs Henry Tilney to basically guide her through every social situation. That said, there's something refreshing about her lack of pretense. In a world full of scheming and social climbing, Catherine is refreshingly straightforward. She grows throughout the story, but she starts from such a naive place that it takes most of the book for her to become truly interesting. Number 8. Marianne Dashwood. Marianne Dashwood is passion personified, and that's both her greatest strength and her biggest weakness. She feels everything: deeply love, heartbreak, joy, despair, and she's not afraid to show it. In a society that values restraint, Marianne is beautifully, messily human. Her romance with Willoughby is intoxicating because she throws herself into it completely. When he betrays her, her devastation is real and raw. But here's the thing, Marianne can be exhausting. Her dramatic tendencies and her judgment of others who don't feel as deeply as she does can be grating. She also has some growing up to do. Her initial dismissal of Colonel Brandon because he's older and quieter shows her immaturity. By the end, she learns to appreciate steadiness over passion, but it's a hard lesson that nearly costs her everything. Number 7. Anne Elliot. Anne Elliot is probably Austen's most mature heroine, and there's something beautiful about her quiet dignity. She's been through heartbreak, she's learned from her mistakes, and she's developed a deep understanding of what really matters in life. The problem is, Anne can feel a bit too resigned to her fate. She's 27 and considers herself past her prime, which feels tragic given how much she has to offer. Her family treats her terribly, and she just takes it. For most of the book, she's letting life happen to her, rather than actively pursuing what she wants. When Captain Wentworth returns, we see glimpses of the passionate woman she used to be, but it takes most of the story for her to fully come back to life. She's admirable and sympathetic, but she lacks the fire that makes other Austen heroines so compelling. Number 6. Eleanor Dashwood. Eleanor Dashwood represents the sense in Sense and Sensibility, and she's the steady, reliable sister who holds everything together. She's intelligent, practical, and incredibly selfless, often putting her family's needs above her own. Her relationship with Edward Ferrars is complicated by his secret engagement to Lucy Steele, and watching Eleanor handle this situation with grace and dignity is genuinely admirable. She suffers in silence, supports her dramatic sister through her own heartbreak, and never loses her composure. But sometimes Eleanor feels almost too perfect. She rarely makes mistakes, she's always rational, and she never really lets loose. While her steadiness is admirable, it can also make her feel a bit predictable compared to Austen's more complex heroines. Number 5. Eleanor Tilney. Eleanor Tilney lands at number 5, and she's criminally underrated as one of Austen's most genuinely lovely heroines. As Henry Tilney's sister, she could have been just a supporting character, but Eleanor has real substance and grace that makes her memorable in her own right. What sets Eleanor apart is her perfect balance of sweetness and strength. She befriends Catherine Morland not out of politeness but from genuine kindness, seeing past their different social backgrounds. When Catherine embarrasses herself with Gothic fantasies about General Tilney, Eleanor handles it with remarkable tact and understanding rather than judgment or mockery. Eleanor also shows real courage when it matters. Living under her intimidating father's roof, she still manages to be kind to others and stand up for what's right. Number 4. Jane Bennet. Jane Bennet deserves recognition as one of Austen's most underrated heroines. She's Elizabeth's gentle older sister, but there's real strength beneath her sweet exterior. Jane represents grace under pressure and kindness without weakness, qualities that are harder to achieve than they appear. What makes Jane special is her genuine goodness combined with emotional intelligence. She sees the best in people without being naive about their flaws. Her relationship with Bingley shows her capacity for deep love. But when Lydia elopes or Wickham's schemes are exposed, Jane remains steady and supportive. Jane also faces real heartbreak when Bingley suddenly leaves Netherfield. Her pain is genuine and deep, but she handles it with dignity rather than drama. Number 3. Fanny Price. Fanny Price deserves a higher spot than many give her credit for. She's often dismissed as passive, but there's real strength in her unwavering moral compass. While other heroines charm with wit or beauty, Fanny's power lies in her absolute integrity and keen observation skills. What makes Fanny compelling is her courage under pressure. When everyone expects her to marry Henry Crawford for his wealth and status, she refuses because she doesn't love him, a brave choice for a poor dependent. She sees through people's facades when others are fooled, recognizing Henry's true nature and Maria's dangerous path before anyone else. Fanny also faces genuine hardships that other Austen heroines don't experience. She's torn from her family, treated as a poor relation, and constantly reminded of her inferior status. Number 2. Emma Woodhouse. Coming in at number 2 is Emma Woodhouse, and she deserves this spot because she's Austen's most psychologically complex heroine. Emma is privileged, meddlesome, and often wrong, but that's exactly what makes her brilliant. She's the most socially powerful of Austen's heroines, and watching her learn to use that power responsibly is fascinating. What sets Emma apart is her genuine character development. When Mr. Knightley calls out her cruel behaviour at Box Hill, her shame and mortification feel completely real. She doesn't just apologise, she actively works to become better. Emma's journey from selfish meddling to genuine self-awareness is Austen's most sophisticated psychological portrait. Emma is also incredibly intelligent and charismatic. Her matchmaking disasters come from good intentions, even if she's completely misguided. She's manipulative but charming, flawed but lovable, making her utterly compelling despite her faults. Number 1. Elizabeth Bennet. Taking our number 1 spot is Elizabeth Bennet, and honestly, was there ever any doubt? Elizabeth isn't just Jane Austen's best heroine. She might be one of literature's greatest heroines, period. What makes Elizabeth absolutely perfect is that she's the complete package. She's intelligent without being condescending, witty without being cruel, and strong without being harsh. She stands up for herself and her beliefs, but she's also capable of growth and change. Her journey from prejudice to understanding mirrors Darcy's journey from pride to humility, and their relationship feels like a true meeting of equals. Elizabeth challenges Darcy, makes him a better man, and in return he helps her see beyond her first impressions. Elizabeth Bennet gave us the template for the modern heroine: independent, intelligent, and unwilling to settle for less than she deserves. Over 200 years later, she's still the gold standard.